Day when the sun was up, and you will see exactly what this guy Abdulaziz had to do to get into this facility. You see his car there in the parking lot. He had to make his way through an S-curve of Jersey barriers and get up enough speed to smash through that gate that was wrapped around the front of his car, which he then either backed away from or just by sheer force of momentum, it fell off the front of the car, and that's when he opened fire. Let's take you back to the scene at the recruiting center on the Lee Highway. Take a look here. The number of bullets that were fired through that front window and all the shell casings, the brass that were very, very close. He had to be just feet away from that in the car when he opened fire. And look at this, almost ringing a sign that says, "No firearms inside." That's because a 1992 directive that was written by President George H.W. Bush's administration and then signed and implemented, rather, during the Clinton administration, severely limited carrying firearms at military bases and military offices, except, Megan, and this is important, when required for law enforcement, or, let's put up the text, when there is a reasonable expectation that life or DOD assets will be jeopardized if firearms are not carried. I think a lot of people will be re-examining that clause in the light of what happened today, Meg.
Absolutely, John. Thank you. Pete Hegseth is a Fox News contributor, and he's the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, also an Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran. Pete, good to see you. They're sitting ducks. The warnings, I'm just preparing for the show tonight. I found a dozen of them, a dozen warnings about the threat to military centers. And yet there they stood, Marines, unarmed.
Unarmed. You know, this radical Islamic scumbag is rotting in hell somewhere as this nation remembers and reveres these Marines who gave their lives for this country. We are at war. Islamists are at war with us. And this incident must reignite whether or not we will arm those members in these facilities and give them the ability to fight back. I mean, the guy who shot at him said he wants to establish Islam in the world, which is exactly what Islamists want. They're at war with us over there and over here. And they're going to go to our recruiting stations, and our intelligence have told us that the FBI director said it last week. If we're not willing to arm these guys, they will be sitting ducks. And I gotta believe this will reignite a national debate after not just this, but what happened in Fort Hood and the Navy Yard and Fort Dix. All of those instances were places in gun-free zones where military members are not able to fight back in the immediate response.
So here's the situation. The warnings are all over the place about the threat to military facilities, including the FBI, DHS, the National Counterterrorism Center, warning military personnel, be vigilant, a threat to U.S. military bases and locations. You could be targeted, and so on. That goes out there. Then, on top of that, we know that they're planning on hitting during Ramadan, which is right now. Then, on top of that, you have the director of the FBI testifying just 8 days ago. I'm overwhelmed. I can't stop it. Here he is.
We are stopping these things so far through tremendous hard work, the use of sources, the use of online undercovers, but it is incredibly difficult. Right? I cannot see me stopping these indefinitely.
And still no one thought to say, what should we do at our military centers right now?
Incredibly prophetic and tragic, and the reality is these threats don't trickle down to these recruiters and the ability to arm them in the near term. It's ultimately our intelligence, our ability to lean forward with informants that are going to identify these threats before they strike. Clearly,
oh my God!
Overwhelmed because of what ISIS is doing in social media, and if we're going to respond, it's going to be those first responders, meaning that Marine or soldier recruiter, able to respond in the moment, who's trained with to deal with the threat. And right now, they cannot.
What is the thinking? All right, so this is passed under President George H.W. Bush, 1992. What is the thinking, that we cannot trust our military men and women to handle firearms on base or at reserve centers?
It's not a matter of trust. It's a bit of a paternalistic instinct that's always been in the military that, hey, these guys are being trained, they're in bases, they're safe areas. As a result, and I was a first-line leader and a commander, you know, there's a safety umbrella over the military. They don't want these guys having their own personal firearms. I understand some of the reasons why. Those reasons are long gone, Megan. We are at war. This threat exists, and it is direct on these facilities that have very little security. And think about National Guard armories that I was a part of in Minnesota or elsewhere. These are unguarded, wide open, with military members right inside without the ability to defend themselves and ammunition. They're sitting ducks, Megan, and ISIS knows that right now.
You've got one of the dead is a decorated war hero with more than one Purple Heart.
2 Purple Hearts.
This is somebody who could have defended himself had he been given the opportunity. And the ultimate bit of irony tonight, of course, they are enhancing security, the security posture at federal facilities, including the NYPD increasing security at recruiting stations.
It's only temporary.
Wish it could have happened earlier. Pete, good to see you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Megan.
In a moment, one of the leading GOP presidential candidates, Governor Scott Walker, will be here to talk about Washington and the domestic terror threat and President Obama's reaction to what happened today. Plus, we will ask Governor Walker to weigh in on that disturbing video involving a Planned Parenthood doctor right now after this break.
We all feel the calling to build something great.
At Ally Bank, no branches equals great rates. It's a fact. Kind of like shopping hungry equals over shopping.
Joseph A. Bank presents the summer sale. Buy one suit and get 3 additional suits free. Plus, buy any 3 traveler dress shirts or sports shirts for $109 through Sunday. Joseph A. Bank, the new tradition since 1905.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Introducing Otezla, not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. Some people who took Otezla saw 75% clearer skin after 4 months. And Otezla's prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla